Okay, let's get started and build our very first part. First things first, we need to choose a face or a plane to start drawing on. When you first open a new model, there's no faces, you only have these planes, and you have these three fundamental planes shown here. You have the front plane, the right plane, and the top plane. You want to think of those similar to the real world. The top plane might be the top of your desk or the ground. The front plane might be a wall in front of you, and the right plane might be something on the right-hand side of you. So when you're building something, think through how those things would actually be built. If you're going to build, for instance, like a stand for something, you might start with the top plane, so the stand would be mounted to the ground, and then you might design something on the front plane that would be something that would be standing up in front of you. So think through that, because when you start putting things together in an assembly, all those orientations will automatically be coming in, and if they're oriented a different way, it might make it a little more difficult to put everything together. But it's not really that big of a concern because you can always rotate things in the assembly level. But to get started, I generally like to choose the top plane or the front plane for my models. So notice as I hover over the outside edge of those planes, they highlight in orange. I want to use the top plane, so if I click on that plane, notice it highlights. I get these little spheres in the corner that I can drag around if I need to, but those are really just markers showing you where the plane is. And when I'm ready to get started, I can click on Sketch here, or I can go up here to the Sketch tab on the ribbon bar and click Sketch, or even here on the top plane, I can left click and click on Sketch. So any one of those three methods will quickly get into a sketch mode, and as soon as I click on that, watch what happens. It spins around, so I'm looking straight down on that plane, and I'm ready to get started with my sketch. Notice I got all these other planes shown. Sometimes that's a little bit distracting, so what you might want to do is go over here to the different planes and hide the planes you're not seeing or using so you're not being confused. Now you have a blank work environment, starting with just the origin in the middle of your screen. Now, we're going to cover a few tools here. I'm going to show or demonstrate a couple of the tools, and we're going to be covering those in future chapters. But first, I just want to go through the steps of actually creating our very first model. So in this case here, I'm going to use the rectangle tool. It's a center point rectangle. I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to drag it out. There it is. It automatically adds the relationships, which we'll be covering soon. And I can come up here to Smart Dimension. I'm going to add a couple dimensions. I'm going to say this is 6 inches, 6.0. And over here, it's going to be 4 inches, so 4.0. And notice as I do that, all the lines turn black, which means they're fully defined. And again, we'll be covering that soon. And as soon as I'm happy with this, I can either go to Exit Sketch here, or I can jump right into a feature. So features are going to be like Extrude. Choose Extrude, and notice it turns me into a 3D space. And I can grab this little arrow and I can drag it up, see my part. And as I do that, notice I get this little heads up measuring tape that pops up, and it shows me exactly how long these parts are. Or I can just come over here to the left, type in the number I want, 3.0, and there's the number. Now I have a couple other options here. I can look at going a different direction, or I can change it to a thin feature. But for right now, let's just get started with the most very basic extrude and create a block. When you're happy with that, click on the green check mark here, or the one over here, and there's our very first 3D part modeled in SolidWorks. Spin it around. So just to review, first you choose a face or a plane, you start a sketch, draw out the sketch, then click on Features, and go to Extrude.